everyone, my name is Jenna Van Mourik, and if you didn't know, I've been doing a YouTube series for a while called Interview with an Author, and today I am back with an interview with self-published author Cleopatra Margot. Cleopatra is the author of several books, including Christmas with Coco, One Summer Note, His Newest Blessing, One Christmas Note, and her most recent release, The Floods Came. I am so excited to have Cleopatra on my channel. She's one of the first authors that I reached out to about this project, so I'm so glad that it finally worked out in both of our schedules and both of our timing, and I think it's a really fun interview and really encouraging, especially given the state we're in right now. It just, I think her newest book and the plot points that are within it will really speak to a lot of people who are facing difficulties right now. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. Without further ado, let's get into the interview. Hey Cleo, thank you so much for being on my channel. Let's go ahead and start off with you introducing yourself. So your name, your books that you've published, the genre that you write in, and anything else that you'd like to share.
Hi, I'm Cleopatra Margot. I'm an author of faith-based contemporary romance, and I have published almost 5 books. The titles are Christmas with Coco, One Summer Note, His Newest Blessing, One Christmas Note, and The Floods Came will be published March 27th of this year, and I'm currently working on the 6th book in the Faith to Love series,
What made you choose to be an independently published author and specifically to write Christian fiction?
So back when my co-author and I were publishing our first book, we were looking into the pros and cons of indie or self-publishing versus traditional publishing. We were looking at lists. We were looking at pros and cons to both, and we decided to go with self-publishing just for the reason of being able to control what you're writing, when you want to publish, what you want to tell in your books, and so that's the reason I chose self-publishing. And then I chose the Christian fiction genre just because that's what I live, that's what my family lives. I want to share God's love with the world, and I want everybody to know that He is for everybody and that He loves all of us.
How do you feel that writing for the Christian fiction genre has impacted your experience as an independently published author?
Writing in the Christian fiction genre sometimes can test me just because it's kind of letting God lead what I'm supposed to write and letting Him tell me what to write, and so sometimes that it takes patience. The stories don't always come out perfect the first time around. I had One Christmas Note, like 2 chapters from being completed, and I chose to rewrite it completely. I don't recommend writing a book in 3 weeks. I did do that one. So I think writing about faith has helped strengthen my faith, if that makes sense. As an indie author, I think it's really nice because I don't know, it's just, I've connected with a lot of people through indie and Christian fiction. I've connected with a lot of people through indie and Christian fiction. So it's just special, I guess.
You're also a teen author, so how do you feel that that has impacted your journey?
So I think a lot of people either assume I'm younger than I am or I'm older than I am. Like when we're out as a family, I have a younger sister and a younger brother, and most people think I'm either the middle sibling or I'm literally the youngest sibling because I'm short. But being a teen author, I think it's kind of a unique thing. There's a lot of us out there, like my friend Caitlin Grace or my friend Audrey Bodine, but it's still a minority, and I think in this day and age, realizing that you don't have to be a certain age to do a certain thing, such as writing, and I just want to inspire other teens and adults, but other teens to do what God has planned for them.
What advice would you give to other teen authors?
So the advice that I would give to other teen authors is just to follow what God wants you to do and to listen to Him, because if you don't, it's not ultimately going to turn out how you want it to, even if you think that's how you want it in the beginning. And have patience, because You have to understand that you're a human and that God will reveal to you what you're supposed to write, what you're supposed to share with the world in His timing.
What is one thing about self-publishing that you wish you would have known before you started?
One thing about self-publishing that I wish I knew before I started was the formatting aspect of it. Like, I wish you could naturally just know how to do it before starting. It was a learning curve for me, it was about 2.5 years ago when I formatted my first book, and to this day it's still a learning curve. I've done it at least 10 times now, so it's like I understand it better, and it's not as difficult or annoying or aggravating, but I think that would be the one thing that I wish I would have at least had a grasp on before I started publishing.
Do you outsource any of the work like editing, design, etc.? Or if you do it all yourself, how do you keep it so organized and professional? Your covers are always so cute and fun.
No, I don't outsource any of my work. So my process is kind of write, edit that first draft and send it off to beta readers. And then I edit it again, and then I will go into formatting. As far as my covers, first of all, thank you for saying that they're fun, because I enjoy making covers. I get images from like Shutterstock or Designer, and they're royalty-free images, and I just try to find something that pertains to the story. And then the fonts and stuff, they just somehow come together for that book. And the Floods Came is the only one that has not been, I haven't used stock images because it is a very personal story to me. So this sunrise picture is from last May, from a jog early in the morning. And then the couple that you see at the top, kind of silhouetted, is my grandparents on their wedding day.
You've published an impressive amount of books this year in 2019. How do you think that is that you can write and publish your books so fast? What does your writing process look like?
So in 2019, I published a total of 4 books. My process is pretty much write the book in a month to a month and a half, and then in a month to a month and a half after that is published. So I've learned that for me personally, if I take a month to a month and a half to write it, I don't get burnt out on the project, and I keep myself inspired, I keep myself motivated, because before I wrote Christmas with Coco, I was working on a different novel, a historical novel, and I was about 8 months into it, and I was just finishing it, and I was so burnt out on it. I wasn't inspired by it. And that's not to say that you can't have a longer writing process. There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever works for you is the best thing to do. But personally, for me, if I keep it shorter, I feel more connected to the story, and I feel like that is just what God tells me to do.
Would you recommend doing it this way? What have you learned about these aspects of indie publishing through your experience?
So as far as doing it how I do it, I personally recommend trying out writing and just seeing how it goes for you, if you need more time to write or if you want to do it in a quicker, shorter time period. And then after that, you can kind of work on how you want to go about indie publishing. If you want to do the work yourself, that's great. You just have to learn, and you have to be patient with yourself. I have gotten, in the past, even now, I still get impatient with myself. I get mad at why it's not working. I wonder why, and I'll cry, and you get kind of upset, but I think that you just have to learn to have patience with yourself and know that God is not purposely making this hard, but that He is guiding you, and if you just take the time to listen to Him, it'll go a lot faster and a lot smoother and a lot easier.
What is your favorite aspect of being self-published? What about your most difficult or least favorite aspect?
My favorite aspect is that you can control what you write, on what timeline you write, on the control of it. I think it's just that you can decide and make the decisions for your publishing path. And the most difficult part is, there's two. Formatting, because it's a huge learning curve, and once you learn it, then it's not so bad. And marketing, because traditionally published authors, usually they have where the publishing house that they go through, they market for them. That's just the natural, they're publishing your book, they're going to market it for you. As indie authors, we do all of it. We do the publishing, we do the marketing, and I think that's very special because you get to make personal connections, you get to meet new people, you get to nurture relationships. But I think it's also one of the most difficult aspects because you have to learn how to split your time between writing and publishing, and also marketing so you can sell the books that you're writing and publishing.
Your books are all set in an interlocking series in the town of Believe, Nebraska. How do you tie it all together? Do you know the stories of all the residents of Believe, or do they still surprise you sometimes?
So the town of Believe, first and foremost, is based on my own Nebraskan hometown in northeast Nebraska. I love writing the town because I think Nebraska kind of tends to be an overlooked state. And so I love getting to share the stories and of these characters in the state that I love, in the state that I've grown up in the state that I live in. And as far as the characters go, they still surprise me. I'll be writing and I discover something about a certain character, whether it's the main character or a side character, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that they have that. And so it's really neat because I think that's kind of just a part of God working through me. I've always said that I hold the pen and He writes the stories. I just have to actually write them. And so I think that's just something that I like to do. I like to share about my home state, and I like to share these stories of characters that I've grown to love.
Believe is based on your own hometown. Where else do you draw inspiration?
So I find inspiration in the people in my life, in my family and friends. In the Floods Came, you'll actually meet a few people that are in town that are based on real life people. I don't do that. I don't take actual people and change names and make them that literal character how they are in real life very often. I just kind of take traits from people or things that we experienced or whatever. I do that a lot, but I don't usually take actual people and tweak them enough to write about them. But I did do that in The Floods Came. So I write a lot of real life fiction, I like to call it, because it comes from real life, a lot of the storylines, but they're adapted to my books.
Which of your characters do you relate to most and why? Does that impact your writing?
That's a hard question. Well, I would say I definitely relate to the female characters the most, just because I'm a female and so I naturally have that connection with them. I would say Robin, who's the heroine in Christmas with Coco, and she's also the only sister in the McKay family. I would say I relate to her most, just because some of the things that she goes through, her family goes through, the loss of their grandmother in The Floods Came, and that was something that we experienced last spring. And I wrote The Floods Came to portray what happened, except that it's in that fictional family where they're adult children, so it wasn't exactly, the family aspect of it wasn't exactly the same. But I think I probably relate to Robin most just because how she is, her personality. She's reserved, but she's also outgoing in some ways, and she cares about people, and I hope that I can be like her.
You're an indie author who has also hosted a few signing events and library events and stuff like that. So would you describe this experience/process? How did those events come to be, and what is it like?
So, I have had, I think I've had 4 book signings so far, and 3 of those have been at our local library. I'm very blessed to be connected with the librarian there, and she's wonderful, and we have a friendship that I value very much. So she is always excited to have a book signing for my newest release there, so that's kind of how that one comes to be. To describe those events, they're special just because It's a time where I get to share my books and my inspiration and about my writing with other people who may or may not have heard it before. And so I think the best word to describe them is as special, just because that's what they are.
Are there any behind-the-scenes stories you'd like to share about writing your most recent book or upcoming projects, or a little bit of a peek inside to your writing journey?
So my upcoming book releases March 27th, and it's The Floods Came. It centers around the floods that hit my home state of Nebraska last March, and then the collision that my grandparents were in on their way home from Texas, and how my grandma, she didn't survive the collision, and how we kind of worked through that as a family. I put that into the McKays and how they experienced what we experienced, and so that's really special to me. That's a little behind the scenes. The Floods Came is definitely the most real book so far that I've written, the most personal book that I've written so far.